with the tiny coins which his father made for him out of tinfoil. Then were handsome little They were handsome little things, although rather harder to see without putting on your spectacles. When the conductor came around to collect the fares, Stuart finished fish in his purse and pulled out a coin no bigger than the eye of a grasshopper. "What's that you're offering me?" asked the conductor. "That's one of my dimes," said Stuart. "Is it now?" said the conductor. "I'd have a fine time explaining that explaining that to the bus company." "Why, you're no bigger than a dime itself." "Yes, I am," replied Stuart angrily. "I'm more than twice as big as a dime. A dime only comes up to here on me," and Stuart pointed to his hip. "Furthermore," he added, "I didn't come on this bus to be insulted." "I beg pardon," said the conductor. "You'll have to forgive me, for I have no idea that in all the world there was such a small sailor." "Live and learn," muttered Stuart, tartly, putting his change purse back in his pocket. Stuart jumped out and hurried across the sailboat pond in Central Park. Over the pond the west wind blew, and into the teeth of the west wind sailed the sloops and schooners, their rails well down, their wet decks gleaming. The owners, boys, and grown men raced along the cement shores, hoping to arrive at the other end in time to keep the boats from bumping. Some of the toy boats were not as small as you might think, for when you got close to them, you found that their main mast was taller than a man's head, and they were beautifully made. With everything ship-shape and ready to sail, to Stuart they seemed enormous, and he hoped he would be able to get aboard one of them, and he sailed away to the far corners of the pond. He was an adventurous little fellow, and loved the feel of the breeze in his face, and the cry of the gulls overhead, and the heaves of the great swell under him. As he sat cross-legged on the wall that surrounded the pond, he gazed out at the ships through his spyglasses, Stuart noticed that one boat that seemed to him finer and prouder than any other. Her name was Wasp. She was a big black schooner flying the American flag. She had a clipper bow, and on her foredeck was mounted a 3-inch cannon. "She's the ship for me," thought Stuart, and the next time she sailed in, he ran over where she were being turned around. "Excuse me, sir," said Stuart to the man who was turning her, "but are you the owner of the schooner Wasp?" "I am," replied the man, surprised to be addressed by a mouse in a sailor suit. "I'm looking for a berth in a good ship," continued Stuart, "and I thought perhaps you might sign me on. I'm strong and quick." Are you sober?" asked the owner of the Wasp. "I do my work," said Stuart crisply. The man looked sharply at him. He couldn't help admire the trim appearance and bold manner of this diminutive, seafaring character. "Well," he said at length, pointing the prow of the Wasp out toward the center of the pond, "I'll tell you what I'll do with you. You see that big racing slope out there?" "I do," said Stuart. "That's the little William B. Wormworth's Hard name to say, said the man, and I hate her with all my heart. Then so do I, said Stuart loyally. I hate her because she is always bumping it into my boat, continued the man, and because her owner is a lazy boy who doesn't understand sailing, who hardly knows a squall from a squid, or a jib from a jab, continued Stuart, or a luff from a leech, bellowed the man, or a deck from a dock, screamed Stuart, or a mast from a mist, yelled the man. But hold on now, no more of this. I'll tell you what we'll do. The William B. Worth has always been able to beat the Wasp sailing, but I believe that if my schooner was properly handled, it would be a different story. No one knows how I suffer, standing here on shore helpless, watching the Wasp blunder along when all she needs is a steady hand on her helm. So, my young friend, I'll let you sail the Wasp across the pond and back. If you can beat that detestable slope, I'll give you a regular job. Aye, aye, sir, said Stuart, swinging himself aboard the schooner and taking his place at the wheel. Ready about 1 moment, said the man. Do you mind telling me, Bow, you propose the bet to beat the other boat? I intend to crack on more sail, said Stuart. Not on my boat, not in my boat, thank you, replied the man quickly. I don't want you to capsize in a squall. Well then, said Stuart, I'll catch the slope board and rack her with fire from your forward gun. Foul means, said the man. I want this to be a boat race, not a naval engagement. Well then, said Stuart cheerfully, I'll sail the Wasp straight and true, and let the William B. Worth go yawning all over the pond. Bravo, cried the man, and good luck go with you. And so saying, he let go of the Wasp's prow, and puff of air bellowed out the schooner's head sails, and she paid off and filled away on the port tack, heeling gracefully over the breeze while Stuart twirled her wheel and braced himself against the deck cleat. By the by, yelled the man, you haven't told me your name. My name is Stuart Little, called Stuart at the top of his lungs. I'm the second son of Frederick C. Little of the city. Bon voyage, Stuart, hollered his friend. Take care of yourself and bring the Wasp home safe. That I will, shouted Stuart. And he was so proud and happy he let go of the wheel for a second and did a little dance on the slope deck, never noticing how narrowly he escaped hitting a tramp steamer that was drifting in his path, with her engines disabled and her deck awash. When the people in Central Park learned that one of the toy sailboats had been steered by a mouse in a sailor suits, they all came running. Soon the shores of the pond were so crowded that a policeman was sent from headquarters to announce that everyone would have to stop pushing, but no one did. People in New York like to push each other. The most exciting people of all was the boy who owned the William B. Worth. He was a fat, sulky boy of 12 named Leroy. He wore a blue serge suit and a white necktie stained with orange juice. Come back here, he called to Stuart. Come back here and get on my boat. I want you to steer my boat. I will pay you $5 a week if you can have every Thursday afternoon off and a radio in your room. I thank you for your kind offer, replied Stuart, but I am happy aboard the Wasp, happier than I have ever been before in my life. And with that, he spun the wheel over smartly and headed his schooner down toward the starting line, where Leroy was turning his boat around, but by poking it with a long stick, ready for the start of the race. I'll be the referee, said the man in the bright green suit. Is the Wasp ready? Ready, sir, shouted Stuart, touching his hat. Is the Leon B. Worth ready? Asked the referee. Sure, I'm ready, said Leroy. To the north end of the pond and back again, shouted the referee. On your mark, get set, go! Go, cried the people along the shore. Go, cried the owner of the Wasp. Go, yelled the policeman. And away went the two boats from the north end of the pond, while the seagulls wheeled and cried overhead, and the taxicabs tooted and honked from 72nd Street, and the west wind, which had come halfway across America to get to Central Park, sang and whistled in the ringing and blew spray across the decks, stringing Stuart's cheeks with tiny fragments of flying peanut shells tossed up from the foamy deep. This is a life for me, Stuart murmured to himself. What a ship, what a day, what a race. Before the two boats had gone many feet, however, an accident happened on shore. The people were pushing each other harder and harder in their eagerness to see the sport. And although they really didn't mean to, they pushed the policeman so hard they pushed him right off the concrete wall and into the pond. He hit the water in a sitting position and got wet clear up the third button of his jacket. He was soaked. His particular policeman was not only a big, heavy man, but he had just eaten a big, heavy meal, and the wave he made went curling outward, cresting and billowing, upsetting all manners of small crafts and causing every owner of a boat on the pond to scream with delight and concern. When Stuart saw the great wave approaching, he jumped from the rigging, but he was too late. Towering above the Wasp like a mountain, the wave came crashing and pillowing along the deck, caught Stuart up and swept him over the side and into the water, where everyone supposed he would drown. Stuart had no intention of drowning. He kicked hard with his feet and thrashed hard with his tail. In a minute or two, he climbed back onto the schooner, cold and wet, but quite unharmed. He took his place at the helm and could hear people cheering for him and calling, "Atta mouse, Stuart, atta mouse." He looked over and saw that the wave had capsized the Lillian B. Woolworths, but that she had righted herself and was sailing on her course close by, and she stayed close alongside till both boats reached the north end of the pond. Here Stuart put the Wasp about, and Leroy turned the Lillian around with his stick. And